woke up this morning, found everything in place. The birds were singing pretty songs, the sun kissed me on my face. It feels so good to be alive, it feels so good to see the light. I got this sudden feeling like now's the time to start. I got a big idea in my head, I got a dream down in my heart. I'm praying that you'll help me now, I'm praying that you'll show me how. Inside me, saying be all you can be. You gotta keep the truth in your heart, believe when you can't see. You don't see the sign, give it time, won't reach the top without the climb. By my side.
Hey, Manor, Mayor Wallace here, and appreciate you joining me for my final remarks to the community. While still serving in the position I was fortunate to be elected in as your current sitting mayor. On Monday, 10 o'clock over at City Hall Chambers, we'll be doing the canvassing and the official swearing in of the new administration, Mayor-elect Dr. Chris Harvey, along with Maria Amasquaz coming back on City Council, and a new member to City Council, Aaron Marino. But definitely wanted to get just my final closeout remarks to the community of great appreciation and just a little bit of just thoughts about how these last few years have been. First and foremost, I want to give thanks and appreciation for being the first African American mayor sworn in right behind our first female Hispanic mayor, Rita Jonesy. And, that's a distinguishable honor to be able to be in that line of first for our city. I also want to make sure I give proper respect to a dear friend of mine, Mayor Steve Adler. Mayor Steve Adler was probably one of the first individuals I reached out to when I was debating whether or not to step down from city council, especially being on city council roughly about 9 months. And had a conversation with Mayor Adler, and some of the key things he said to me was basically, Larry, being the mayor is about having a vision and being able to communicate that vision in a way that people can clearly understand it and get behind it. He also connected me with a couple other mayors that were a part of my initial endorsement video the mayor from Shreveport and the mayor from Richmond, Virginia, both kind of stated the same things, which it was, it's all about how are you having a vision to continue to help the city grow and move forward, and being able to work and find partners and collaborators to be able to make that come into fruition, but also to be able to communicate that vision very succinctly to the community so that they fully understand it and are able to back it, right? But at the same time, bringing people to the table to help you adjust it and perfect it, right? Because you're only one thought behind the way the city should go and needs to go, but you need to bring others to the table to be able to help and make sure that thought is the right thought. And that thought is fully inclusive and holistic to be able to make it come into fruition. And then, next, I definitely want to give a shout out to the first members of council back in 2020. We did a lot of great things, so many accomplishments. That one year felt almost like two or three in itself, and then the current members of the council. Again, this year we focus on economic developments and what to do to be able to help bring more businesses and a lot of the amenities and commodities that we wanted in the city. While the first year was really focused on communicating what's been going on, while at the same time figuring out how to flatten the system of communication, get city council more engaged with the people, and also figuring out what other committees and other things needed to be implemented and created so that we're truly being involved in the growth of our city, rather than just being informed and giving a couple options and not necessarily knowing all the options that are available for us to pick the best solution for our residents and for our community. And so with that, that first year was all about operating very indifferently than probably a lot of other elected officials just across the board, going out, utilizing LinkedIn, Facebook to reach out to entities, really honestly reaching out to County Commissioner Jeffrey Trevelyan and dear friend Mayor Pro Tem Natasha Madison Harper and Councilmember Rudy Materi, the Austin, Pflugerville, Travis County area, and reaching out to organizations and saying, who are you? What do you do? What is your role and what is your responsibility? And so I know what to hold you accountable for, and I know who I need to go to and who we need to go to when there's certain things that the community is asking for, certain things that we see that needs to happen in the community. I know which tree I'm barking up on, right? The right tree. And I know how I need to ask for it. And I also know who directly to ask for it from. And with that, a couple people that's want to highlight. You saw that we went out and we engaged. Here is Victor Vargas from the Texas Department of Transportation. And when we sat down with him and his team, the first type of conversation really was, this is the issue we have with 290. This is the issue we have with 973, car wrecks and so forth. And we know that we may not be able to get the new tollway. We may not be able to get the stoplights, but from your area of expertise, what can be done? And Victor came up with the idea of having the auxiliary lanes, right? Going from the 2 lanes to the 3 lanes that go that 2-mile width into Manor. That was Victor Vargas, only because and simply because we changed the narrative from saying we want to this is what we would like, but what can be done in the interim, right? And so a lot of stoplights, a lot of the things that you've seen over these last 2 years have been from Victor Vargas and his team, informing us as well of what the checklist looked like for stoplights and how we needed to message and who we needed to partner with and who we needed to talk to. And a part of that was talking with the capital area metropolitan planning organization. And on the far, at least the way I see it on my screen, the far right, you have Ashby Johnson, who is the executive director of it. And again, it was how are they putting roads into their 30, 40-year plans that ultimately determine how funding is going to happen at the state level. We looked into partnerships and programs through, again, like National League of Cities, an organization that Mayor Adler had introduced me to and said that we needed to be involved with more. They partnered with us in the city, and now we have the Manor Biz 101, which was really focused, especially with Debbie Charbonneau, who works there in City Hall, along with Councilwoman Ann Weir. How can we quickly help our small businesses here within the city of Manor, especially when COVID-19 happened. And originally we were looking at revitalization of downtown, but we saw that the best way we could utilize this program, this piloting offer that the National League of Cities was providing us, was how could we get our small businesses back up on their feet as quickly as possible. Um, and so with that, I'll get into more of just the thoughts of this last couple of years. We had COVID, right? And back in February of 2020, when COVID was initially hearing about it, sitting down with Chief Ryan Phipps, with Monique Celadon, and our city hall personnel, and basically brainstorming what is the best way to try to take care of our population. And we came up with 6 pathways to success. And you saw those through helping the establishment and creation of disaster relief group, to the religious support through Father Alex Montez Villa and Pastor David Cox and a few others, to the health insight and support through Dr. Karen Smith, right? COVID was very, very all the time new information that was occurring. And having the ability to go into, back then, who's now Senator Sarah Eckhart, being our county judge, and pushing back and saying, there's so many decisions that are being made between county and the city of Austin. And the decisions you're making don't necessarily mean the same situations are occurring in our city. Because it's happening on the west side doesn't necessarily matter, meaning it's happening here on the east side and so forth. And we were able to change a lot of how the information occurs. And from that, now there's a bi-weekly meeting between the mayors and the county judge to have greater dialogue, where before we were not at that table. We didn't have an ability to have input or the ability to say, I hear what you're talking about, but that's not occurring over here. Those types of situations, the fighting amongst ourselves when it came to the CARES Act dollars, trying to make sure we got ours. And unfortunately, we gave back $619,000 of your taxpayer dollars are allocated down by federal, because of further systems you saw during the winter storm, which were basically competing resources and programs, and the inability to be able to duplicate those things. So a lot of behind the scenes that you all didn't see was a lot of times really saying, this doesn't make sense, why? And then trying to be able to figure alternatives to be able to bring resources and services and programs here locally. And a lot of times, the only way to really bring the services to the city of Manor was to reach out to subject matter experts, as I said already, Dr. Karen Smith, or try to help and support the Manor Disaster Relief Group, or the Manor Wellness Alliance, and other entities, or to be able to reach out to, say, the Urban League and some other organizations to be able to get them to bring services in, talking with the Central Texas Food Bank and saying that their current model of going to them to get the food would not be something sustainable and really truly taking care of our population when we needed resources coming into the area. And so what you see through all that were relationships being built. Here you have Black women in business. They ended up opening a chapter here within the city of Manor shortly after the collaboration, and them seeing the welcoming arms and the type of community that we have. Economic-wise, reaching out to Aaron Demerson, who our mayor-elect has a great relationship with, and is talking about how does the state itself at the top level, how does it communicate, what's the type of information it's acquiring and receiving from counties and cities, so that we are in the conversation when it comes to where businesses may want to go, like Tesla and others. And so much information about what we weren't doing has become the focus in this year of 2021 of what we need to be doing. And a lot of what Mayor-elect Chris Harvey has been focused on and will continue to move forward with in his term, of ensuring that we are better aligned with how things are happening outside of our city to make sure we're not left behind. We even met with the governor's housing and economic and tourism committee. Here you have Bobby Wilkins, who's standing right next to me in the suit. He's the executive director. And next to me over there on the side is Quincy Dunlap, the CEO for Austin Area Urban League, and building those relationships and trying to figure out what types of grants and fundings are possible that we were missing out on just because we didn't have a grant writer, we didn't have an economics development director, and we didn't have anybody that was currently on staff focused of doing that kind of up and out engagement, figuring out what people are looking for, how businesses are connecting and expecting from local chambers, expecting information from local city municipalities and things that they're hoping to hear or not hear from when they reach out and engage with council members. And before, our council members weren't necessarily really sitting down and talking and trying to give positive ways of getting the yes when it came to pitching potential ideas that would be great enhancers to the health and wellness of our community. Here we have, you see Councilwoman Emily Hill and I here with Leslie Tran, who is a part of the Manor Economic Development Committee, and even making those connections within other ethnic groups and how they've been, especially with Leslie, ensuring we're being inclusive of the AAPI community and making sure that they are brought into the conversation of the underserved, underrepresented population that's also within our city, but also making sure that as Mayor-elect has brought up multiple times, when it came to the request for information and request for qualifications, when we're going out to bid things, that we're being very open and inclusive to everyone, and we're giving everyone an opportunity to be able to support our community, especially when our community is a minority majority community. And through that, most of Manor from 290 all the way down to Elgin is within a opportunity zone. We have the first community area designated within that area, within that community zone being developed, and it's called the Grassdale. And then some of the early conversations I had was with HEB, and this is Jared O'Brien from HEB. And this was the first time anyone from council had actually went out and talked to HEB to figure out what was what. And that's when we learned that they had a 5-year planning model, and we weren't necessarily in that planning model. Beginning of 2019, we were on their bubble. And hopefully within this next 3 to 5 years, we'll start to see some progression, right? But again, having individuals that are on council that realize that we had two roles. One, which was the official role, coming to city council meetings and voting, the 2 meetings a month, coming to whatever committee meetings that we were appointed to be on, but also this representative responsibility, which was going out and engaging with individuals, even though that would be to a situation of out of our own pocket to be able to go and do that. And that's what I had fun and enjoyed doing, was going out and representing the city and trying to see what type of services and programs we could be able to bring in. And I know that is the exact same thing that our Mayor Pro Tem, now Mayor-elect, has been doing. We met with Austin FC when they first got ready, when we first knew that they were coming in, and talking back then with Dr. Avery of creating an agreement where those kids within the school district that would be potential to play in the pro soccer league could be able to be signed a contract and be able to practice with the Austin FC and have a way to be able to modify their own schoolwork, right? To open up those pathways. Engaging with Walmart. You see Tim Ellison is the one standing next to him. That leadership has now changed over, but engaging with Walmart and having that opportunity to be able to relay things that I was hearing, to be able to help out the leadership here in Walmart and be able to figure out what some of the burdens and some of the restrictions that may be happening from corporate guidance down to our local store, to be able to help give feedback to the community. But I'll also highlight that Tim was very, very engaging um, during the COVID situation and the communication back and forth, knowing that during COVID, the whole processes and protocols of being together, spacing the 6 feet and so forth. Uh, there was no one else other than Mr. Tim Schultz from Blue Bonnet during the winter storm that was fully engaged and communicative to the community. But again, that was going out and building these relationships and having this dialogue with people, right? And from that, his pride in our city was so great that he personally reached out to be able to get us our own Monopoly game, right? Which sold very quickly. We even focused on health issues and reached out. As you can see, the lady standing next to our chief of police is Dr. Courtney Harvey with the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. She oversees the department for mental and health and diverse types of uses and needs, and trying to figure out how do we bring greater services of health care within the community, tying into tax-funded programs and services. And that's how we ended up creating the healthcare committee that is currently ran by Councilwoman Aaron Weir. Was seeing how do we try to bring in hospital, how do we try to bring in larger clinics and larger facilities so we don't have to go outside the city to try to take care of our population. And then again, Dr. Karen Smith, I can't say thanks enough for her support and her assistance through COVID, through the winter storm, and just throughout the whole 2 years. She has been a multi-impactful force. She led all things that we did regarding COVID. As we looked at what happened if our clinics got shut down, and you saw some of them did, just because like community care couldn't fully support when they lost a lot of their employees and so forth. And so we lost the clinic. Baylor Scott and White kind of somewhat had to pull out in Austin Regional Clinic and Peoples. So we didn't really have a way to be able to take care of our population outside of you being a patient within one of those organizations. When it came also to COVID, Karen, Dr. Smith, along with her team, the Manor Health and Wellness Alliance Group, conducted the first 100% volunteer vaccination effort here within Travis County, and they did it over at the Manor Senior High School, right? That was an awesome opportunity to be able to get individuals taken care of here within the Eastern Crescent. That we're not able to get access to those vaccines. And a lot of it was discussions and dialogue and really taking the conversation to Travis County and to the health experts and saying, we don't really have access. In Manor, there's really nobody that has access to the vaccines. And then when we do get access to the vaccines, it's only going to their patients. And so we're not getting people, fully vaccinated here. And that's when our county judge, Andy Brown, coordinated and said, hey, Larry, if I'm able to get you, 1,200 shots, 2,000 shots, 3,000 shots in the next couple of days, can you get it done? And called Dr. Karen Smith and said, hey, County Judge Brown said, hey, he can get me 3,000 doses within 2 days, but we have to have it out within 5 days. And she said, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. And they exceeded the standards that were even set by Seton healthcare families of how many doses per vial, right? Just amazing. And you can see here, Judge Andy Brown had came out and visited just to get eyes onto the whole operation and process, because he wanted to take what we did here and see about replicating it throughout the county. And then, as we talked about again, here you see Derek Chubbs, who's sitting next to me on the other side as our city manager. Derek Chubbs is the CEO of the Central Texas Food Bank, as I mentioned before, and talking with him of how do we get food and distributions here within the Eastern Crescent side of the house, side of the portion. So that way we're not competing with those families in need within the Austin area, and sitting down and talking with him and figuring out the best way to make it happen. And as you saw for several months, every Friday, the trucks coordinated with the Manor Disaster Group of how to bring that food out and be able to take care of our communities. And so COVID in the winter storm, you both know what we had to go through, what we had to traverse to be able to overcome. What a lot of you all did not see was a lot of it was us as elected officials going to people's tables and saying, why are we not at the table? Why were we not informed about this? When it came to trying to break the concern and the fear of people wanting to take the vaccine, going to the health experts and saying, I don't even know the information. So how am I supposed to get my community to go take the vaccine if I, as an elected official, don't know? And to be able to come back and say, well, why does someone always have to go to your website to get the information? Why do I have to read this long email with a whole bunch of attachments and try to make sense of it? And again, that's the type of leadership that we had these last 2 years, not just in me, but the administration. And that's also the same type of leadership that I see in our mayor-elect, but more so focused and more so adept when it comes to the economic growth we're going to need, bringing in the business, messaging to the businesses, as well as the youth services and programs that we also need as well, right? And then when we're talking about youth services and programs, I enjoyed meeting individuals like Caleb Siniga and others that are doing great things out here. But us as council members, it's our job to figure out and how, along with the school district, along now with Compass Rose, along with other youth programs and services that are here, how do we create more opportunities for our young youth, young adults to be able to thrive, right? And for the great things that they're doing on top of going to school and passing, highlight those accomplishments so they feel further strengthened and empowered to put that energy in, that effort in, to be very successful. Reaching out to other electeds and seeing how they're doing it. Here you see the mayor and one of the council members from Taylor, and engaging with them and trying to figure out best practices, because we're not always the ones that have the best practice. We may think we are, but we're not always the ones that have the best practice. So reaching out to others and trying to figure out what those best practices are, and reaching and engaging with other elected officials and across all different spaces. And you can see, starting from on my screen, the left, our county commissioner, precinct 1, Jeffrey Trevelyan, Mayor Pro Tem Natasha Harper Madison from Austin. You have in the red, State Representative Cheryl Cole, and then on the right you have Council Member Rudy Mateer. And having that dialogue and that conversation and saying, this is the issue that we have going on right now. This is what we're being told we can and we can't do. What have you heard? What have you seen? And what other context do you have? Because we want to go through the gambit of options, the gambit of ideas, and try to figure out what the best course of action is, right? And so even if that course of action may not be ideal to the community, we can be able to voice how we came to that decision, how we came to that solution, and why that's the best way going forward. And just wanted to highlight again the great support and assistance from Father Alex Montez Villas, who's no longer here with us within the city of Manor. He's moved on to greater things within within his church, and just opening the doors up for everything that we try to do, whether it was housing, vaccinations, housing, food, temporary being the location for the disaster relief group, and always supporting the community and everything that he did, right? And then moving on, one of the greatest probably joys of my 2 years is getting the Purple Heart designation, not only for our city, but our school district, being the first school district within Central Texas to be a Purple Heart designated recipient. That was something I picked up the phone, called Dr. Avery, told him what we were doing, and said, hey, is this something you want to join in on? And he said, absolutely. Just tell me what needs to be done, what paperwork needs to be done. I'll get it over to the board to get signed off on, right? And then the same thing, that whole military piece, in talking with Dr. Avery and former Assistant Superintendent Brian Yearwood, their goal and their desire, along with Principal Bobby Brown over at New Tech, and former Principal Matthews over at the senior high school, wanting to have ROTC and reaching out to individuals as you see here, Command Sergeant Major Michael Crosby from Army Futures Command, and several others like here, Sergeant Major Harold Overstreet, who is a 12th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, and talking with them and trying to figure out, even if we didn't do an actual ROTC, if we went with a different type of a program, which we have is the Cadet Corps, would they still be supportive? And could they help us to make sure it's not just a piece of trying to prep someone up to join the military, but to bring in the different leaders, significant leaders that have been around this world and learn great things, how they can come bring those experiences to our youth, especially being a minority majority city, bring those experiences so our youth can have a better advantage when they go out into this world, the both realized and unrealized glass ceilings. And then thanks to Isaac Rowe, when I reached out to him about our first Juneteenth, right? And that was right around the same time when the whole George Floyd protests and so forth were going on. And we did the debating of whether or not we should still have it or not. And coming to the realization that if we didn't have it, we would be reinforcing the stigma and the concern about what was going on with the Black Lives Movement, and how, just like the 14th Amendment, that 14th Amendment opened up a lot of pathways for what you see now as far as greater equality, for women's rights, LGBTQ, and even now the AAPI, right? And so even though this Black Lives Matter movement, it also is going to hopefully lead to other changes and support into the AAPI community and others, right? That the 4th of July is not just a day for everybody. It may be a day for for more of one population than another. And so we need to be conscious of that. And we need to be respectful of the other days of impact and significance for all of our populations that make up this great country. And so I want to give a thanks again to Isaac Rowe for putting this on and putting the event together, because it was a great opportunity just to show how our community comes together against all odds. And so through all this, you saw I had the fun time and opportunity of supporting multiple different organizations and entities, and intentionally did that because I knew as your mayor, I needed to be as involved with the community, as close to what was going on as possible, to be able to ensure that the decisions we were making on city council, the advice and the insight that I was giving to community members, the advice and insight I was giving to stakeholders outside of our city that wanted to be involved, or even who I needed to reach out to, knowing the role and the position that I held as mayor could be very impactful of trying to bring people to the table, trying to bring people interested. I needed to be involved and be in the know, and have those contacts as well to be able to reach out to someone here within the city and be able to say, is this right? I heard this, what's going on? You may want to stay ahead of this or stay ahead of that. But at the same time, hey, I came across this program. I came across this person looking to do this. I think there would be a great connection. And from that, we saw a lot of opportunities come to us, right? We saw stuff like the Dell technology program, where the kids are now getting their certification and being able to repair computers from Dell stuff. I can't think of the some of the other ones. Oh, the mills that came from the approval of City of Austin and Travis County to bring additional mills in during the COVID situation for the school district, and several other opportunities. But a lot of that enjoyed working with the board members here from the Manor School District, from the Manor Schoolhouse Foundation, my apologies, and going out with them and just seeing the joy and the tears off of people's eyes when they handed out checks to these teachers and to these staff members within the school district, because some of the funding that they were receiving, or some of the funding that was allocated to the school, could not necessarily support innovative programs or services or opportunities that they wanted to do, that they kind of felt would probably be that additional impact to their students. And because of that, engaging in the things I said again, speaking with, coming to the school board meetings and listening and speaking up to what is going on from the city side as well, meeting with the students and talking to them and letting them know that they have access, and engaging with them. reading to the students and taking time out just to talk with them and enjoy and let them know that their leadership, right, is not just sitting behind some desk making decisions and not understanding where they're coming from, not willing to come to their level and just engage with them, right? And then also supporting during the voting time, trying to motivate our new seniors and ones that are now eligible to be able to go vote, to go out and vote for the first time, to get their name on that docket, right? And you saw in 2019, which I appreciate the most, between Councilwoman Ann Weir, friend Philip Tryon, was just when we ran for mayor, this the whole concept of just get out and vote. It doesn't matter. We're not going to bash each other. We're going to be, friendly with each other, because at the end of the day, we still have to operate and communicate and work together, regardless of who ends up being the mayor. And too often you see infighting, right? And then once that person gets in the office, the other people don't want to work with them. And then even moving on into creating the first state of the city address as we try to perfect and refine how do we do business as a city, as a council, focusing on 2 to 3 priorities, an overall vision, and then relaying that to the community so you all know in exactly what we're going to be working on for that year. So when the end of the year comes, you have something to hold us to and able to say, you didn't get this accomplished. And we're able to say, but we didn't focus on that, or we did focus on it and you are correct. We did not meet it, but hopefully it holds us to then keeping you updated throughout that year of, we were focusing on doing this. This is what came up. Now we're shifting to do this, and we still think we can be able to get this part of it done, right? And so you saw that. And then lastly here, enjoying the great turnover to a dear friend that I have great respect to, Mayor-elect Dr. Chris Harvey. And so in closing, basically, just want to say a couple of things. These 2 years have been astronomically very, I don't want to say stressful, but a lot of work has been going on behind the scenes to get to where we are now, and for the handover to this new administration that will probably do about the same level, if not more, of work and where we need to go and how we need to get there regarding our economic development in our youth and services programs. Over these last 2 years, we passed 19 propositions. Of those 19 propositions, one of them was going to 4-year terms, because we know trying to get this work done, most of the things, we came to roads, came to stoplights, came to getting the approval for economics development director, a grant writer, took anywhere from 2 to 3 years. 3 years meaning some of those things I was doing and started when I was a council member, right? So that's why we really pushed for 3 and 4 year terms. We added a lot of committees, and I know it's a lot, but the reason behind that was you can't hold an elected official accountable for not talking about a topic or not having a plan for a topic if there's nothing set aside for that topic to be actually discussed. And a lot of times, most of those topics that are of interest, the representative side, are roads, economic development, transportation. Those are not necessarily traditional agenda items. Those needed to be discussed in committees, so planning and discussion could occur that would lead to those being added to agenda items for voting on for something to actually occur, right? You saw more social media presence by our council members. I hope that continues on. And the reason there was so much social media presence was because I felt and I believe you should be hearing directly from the horse's mouth on things. You should not be hearing trickle down where it feels removed as if we do not care about you. And so that's why I created my Facebook page, why I really asked and pushed that our council members created their own, and that we did the training to make sure we did not put our city in potential liabilities by doing things from a representative capacity and then an official declared capacity. We revised several ordinances. We modified our agenda for city council meetings to have more reports so we can be able to update each other on things that were occurring and get insight. Because a lot of times we can't have more than 4 people talking about a topic at one time. So we made reports so we could update everybody on council. So if someone came to Councilwoman Sonia Wallace or or council member Gene Krupa. Hopefully they all knew the same amount of information because we created spaces within our meeting agendas to be able to address that. We saw, excuse me, areas where we needed greater direction or greater ability or clarity in what we could and couldn't do within our ordinances, or things that restricted us from doing certain things in the best interest of the people. And we revised ordinances and we revised protocols, several of them. I believe more will probably be revised in this new administration as we see other restrictions that stop us from being able to do those youth services and economic things that we need to do. And again, we also just now started doing more meet the candidates, a push that I personally had along with Philip Tryon to be able to get individuals to know who's running and to be able to ask your questions. Because as you've seen these last 2 years, if we don't have council members that are willing to go out, engage, willing to learn what's going on, what has happened, what has transpired in the past, what is currently going on, and where we need to go and why, and to be able to communicate those to all the variations of people, businesses, landowners, developers, business individuals, entities, other elected officials, we are doing nothing but hindering ourselves and our growth within this city, right? We do not necessarily at this moment in time have anybody that is funded or paid by their job description at city hall to do those things. That is also why we wanted to get the economics development director, and why recently we've been looking into a community services and programs person, someone that is actually tapped to be operating in those spaces, to include a media person to help with better branding and messaging what is occurring and what is going on in our own city. So we can be able to bring in the HEBs and the Lowe's and the Home Depot sooner than later, because when they do their own research, right, they make their plans based off of what they see, and we need to do a better job of helping them put together their research and their information based off of what we are doing, where we're trying to go, and what we have viable for them. And then lastly, just being very unapologetic in this position to make sure things got done. I know I probably didn't necessarily always make everybody happy, but the goal was never to do that. The goal was to move the city forward, to get you all the health and wellness things that you have pleaded for, to be able to bring in the amenities and commodities that you have been asking for. And a lot of times that meant having to be very abrupt, having to be very straightforward, point blank in conversation, because otherwise we would have continued to go the same way we've been going year after year after year. And with that, that is why I made a decision that I wanted to step down and needed to step down back in early of 2020. Once majority of everything that I ran for was was in place through the 19 propositions that you all voted on, through the different committees that were created and voted to be added to the charter, to the ordinance changes and protocol changes, to the demonstration of how this position and how council members could be able to do more and be able to engage more, right? All of those were intentional, but at the same time, it took less time than I thought it was going to take. I thought it was probably going to take 2 terms, maybe 3, but it didn't. And because of that, and out of respect to the team that I had, great individuals like Emily Hill and Deja Hill. You know, I talked to Harvey almost every day, and he was giving me feedback or pushback or whatever it may be in the best interest of the people. And that's what I respect the most, was even though we may have been on different sides of a topic sometimes, it was always in the best interest of the people. And now that we are more focused on economic development, youth services and programs, he is the person that was naturally and has naturally been asking 2 to 3 more questions than I, analyzing the data a little bit more granular than I have. And because of that, right, I need to move out the way. I need to move and step aside and support him as a past mayor, as an immediate past mayor. And I ask that other past mayors and other past council members do the same, because this is the leader for the time that we're going into. And most people may not like the way he operates, and some may. But at the end of the day, he is the individual that I truly believe for where we need to go, the conversations we need to have, the data we need to acquire, and the pushback we need to give. He is the most appropriate individual for this next evolution of our city's growth. And if I would have stayed in the seat, then basically he would have to go through me. I would have to understand where he's coming from to then turn around and do it with the same vigor, with the same knowledge, and the same purposeful intent as him. And that does nothing but delay the process. That does nothing but potentially dilute. And then again, someone that's trying to make our city continue to grow just the way I tried to these last 2 years, I potentially make someone no longer interested in putting their full effort into the growth of our city. And with that, I decided to step down, the most respectful thing in the best interest of our Mayor Pro Tem, who was very, very invested, and our council, but also for the growth of our city. And lastly, as I go, Monday at 10 o'clock, we do the canvas. I do the swearing in of our mayor-elect, and then I become officially an immediate past mayor for our city. And I hope that when you see me, please know I go back to Dr. Wallace or Larry, or if you want to refer to me, hey, he's our immediate past mayor, but our new mayor, our current mayor will be Dr. Chris Harvey. And calling me mayor, unfortunately, would be disrespectful for our new mayor and his willingness to step up and utilize his experience, his knowledge, his credentials to be able to lead our city forward. And with that, I leave you, and I thank you for all the support that you all have given me. I thank you for all the pushback you all have given me, and I appreciate all the feedback, both constructive, that you all have given me. And may you all have a great evening and a great weekend. And much respect, and I look forward to what our new administration will be doing for our city, and I stand by ready to assist and to support. Thank you.